Hey, it's Adrian and welcome to another episode. In this one I want to turn our attention to the subjects of sound, frequency, vibration, resonance and word magic because they're all connected. We live in a universe which is vibrating and spiraling and twirling, actually, or whirling if you will, but it's all the vibrations around us. Everything has a frequency attached to it. And we have vibrational sensors for touch, for sight, for sound. You're decoding vibrational frequencies, and that's what gives you the impression of reality. Now, it's really important to understand that frequencies can be very beneficial. They can also be very harmful. Electromagnetic frequencies being one that can be particularly harmful, but there are frequencies in there that can be beneficial. The same with sound. You can use sound to shatter glass. And in fact, Royal Raymond Rife, if you haven't studied him, he's an interesting one to go look at. He actually worked out the frequencies for all different illnesses and how to effectively shatter them, much like you would shatter a glass with sound frequency. And of course, we don't hear anything about him because that would negate the entire need for the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry, pretty much. So back to the subject of frequency, you can tell when your frequency is changing, your vibration, if you will, using your emotions. When you start to feel bad, that means you're focusing on something, thinking of something, paying attention to something, speaking about something, a subject which really isn't doing you any favors. And I pay attention a lot to that, and I find any other subject I can that feels better, that makes me feel better than I feel now, and I chase that rather than chasing it down. I chase it up. And it's really, really simple to do, and I'd encourage you to look into doing that. So we step back now to sound. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about cymatics. If you've not looked at cymatics, it's a very interesting thing. Simple description is a metal plate with a speaker attached to it, or a way of generating frequency, sand on the top, you play frequency to it, and the sand gets into different geometric shapes. Now I'll play a quick video clip now, not all of it, just some of it, to give you an idea. And the higher the frequencies go, the more complex the shapes are. So, if you will, our entire universe is sung into being with sound. $40.49. $57.63. $60.51. Obviously that's just a clip, but how interesting is that? And at the end there'll be a clip you can have a look at which shows music and how it affects everything around it. It's really interesting. So we are responding, our universe is responding to vibrational frequency. That's how that works. So with that being the case, it's very possible that the very words we use, the sounds that we make, start to do things and they influence reality. Well, this is where it starts to get really interesting and it gets a little darker. I'm going to recommend you have a look at some of the work of Pao Chang if you haven't already done so. And he's done some amazing work with regard to magic, magic words, if you will. Now, for a long time, particularly with all this virus stuff we've been looking at, I've been saying to people, it's like people are walking around under a spell. You know, they're enchanted, they're in some kind of trance. And I really felt that. I also felt like there was a kind of dark energy descending around us, which may sound really strange to some. It was just the senses and the feelings I was having. When I read this book the other day, it was recommended to me by a friend. Absolutely amazing. Now, if you think it sounds like nonsense, let me just stop you and ask you just to go on a little journey with me. When you are at school and you are very young, one of the first things they do is they teach you how to group sounds together, letters together, to make words, and they're teaching you to spell, which is a magical term. And when you get really good at it, you get good at spelling. And then you can start to dive deeper into the book. Now, what you can do, in the description there'll be a link to his videos. You can watch the videos, and I'll also put a link to his book if you want to buy it. It's an Amazon link, and I will make a few pennies if you buy that way. You don't have to, it won't cost you any more if you do. It's a worthwhile read. It's only short, it's 130 something pages, but it's absolutely amazing. So if we start to look at a couple of words, like we talked recently about the television and how you are programmed. Well, if you think about what they do, is they broadcast a signal to you. Well, witches cast spells, don't they? Magicians cast spells. Now, if you think about how language can be used in the business of bringing someone into the world, a live baby into the world, you are born, or you're inside the mothership, if you will, in an amniotic sac, so you're inside water. You would come down the birth canal, which is a nautical term, into the delivery room, and when I deliver something, I give it to someone else. You are handed to a doctor, which is a dock, that's a nautical term, that the stuff that comes off the ship goes onto the dock. And then you are placed into a ward. Well, when you look at the term of a ward, it's part of a prison. A maternity ward is part of a prison because your parents gave you away to the state. And pair rent, by the way, means the two of them rent, so they rent you back, if you will. There's all sorts in the book. It's absolutely amazing when you start to look at it and you start to understand how language affects reality and how we are being kept spellbound by it. And I really can't recommend it highly enough if you're interested in that kind of thing, which I am. A couple of other things for you. When you go into a public building, you go through the entrance. That's an interesting word. When you say good morning, that means that you're paying your respects to the dead. There's all sorts of things which are being used subliminally, effectively, to have an enormous impact on our world and how we perceive our world and how we experience our world. So that was it. I hope you enjoy the video that pops up in a minute to give you a kind of look at the world of cymatics if you're not familiar with it. And if you're interested in that, I would encourage you to dive into Pao Chang's work and possibly get his book. Absolutely fascinating stuff. And I just wanted to share that with you to give you an idea, because once you understand the level of control, that control no longer has much effect on you, because you can see what's being used to modify your behavior, really, and influence you. And just a quick reminder to you, if you don't know, I have a Patreon account and a LiberaPay account. If you want to support me in any way, I'd be very grateful. No pressure, but if you would, that would be wonderful. And as always, you guys are amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.